I think we're live. Yes, we are. What's happening, everybody? Welcome to a special edition of Live from My Mother's Basement. Yes, we're actually going to be cooking on tonight's show. And not only are we going to be cooking, we're going to be eating what we're cooking. Now, I know we eat on the show all the time, but this time we're actually eating the food fresh right here, right now, live at 8 o'clock from the basement here in New Jersey. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together. If there was a shitload of people in this audience right now, you all should be making a lot of noise. This is Manja with Michelle. Her real name is Michelle Pietro. However, I was reprimanded on the way we say it. So tell everybody how you say your name.
Pietro.
Pietro. See how much different it was? It became more romantic as far as I'm concerned. How do you do it?
Pietro.
Pietro.
But like I told you, I actually called myself Pietro up until senior year in high school. And then I went to college and learned how to speak Italian. I studied Italian. I'm like, I'm going to actually say it the way it's supposed to be said.
Well, let's all go back in time and find out where exactly are you from?
I grew up in Cherry Hill, New Jersey, so South Jersey. And Italian-American family, half Abruzzese, half Sicilian. And I grew up there. I was there until 18, and then I went to school in Washington, D.C.
Uh-oh, watch out.
Yep.
So let's tell our friends that are watching from different parts of the world, Cherry Hill, New Jersey, as far as I'm concerned, I never really considered New Jersey.
Why?
No, because that's like an upscale area. People got money, big houses. They live a little bit away from, let's say, the hardcore Jersey City, Jersey Shore, Jersey minutia. Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong. It is actually a suburb of Philadelphia, so very different from probably where you grew up. So it's
she has a Philadelphia edge.
And yeah, definitely a South Jersey accent. Wouldn't you say it's different?
It is different.
It's different.
To me, you don't have an accent.
Okay, good. You have an accent to me.
Yes, I do. How now, brown cow? Get the fuck away from me.
But I actually grew up in a Jewish neighborhood.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, my dad grew up
Go figure, Cherry Hill.
Yeah, exactly.
I said
We were the only Italians for sure on the block.
So I guess the Jewish people ate really well.
They did eat really well. I babysat half of them.
Is that cool?
Yeah. When I was 12 years old, I babysat the whole neighborhood practically.
Brothers, sisters?
One sister, older, and that's it. My parents were a lot older when they got married, so they didn't have a lot of kids.
So the little Philly edge. You grew up in Jersey, went to Washington for school?
I went to Washington, D.C. for school. I went to Georgetown. I was actually an accounting major, even though I started cooking when I was 5 years old with my mom, cooking eggs. And I love to eat, so I always loved to cook. But I always was really into academics, so I never thought about going into cooking as a career until I was into a career that I actually didn't love. I was an accounting major. I went to work for one of the big six in New York City after graduation. I became a CPA. And I did that for 5 years, and then I did a whole 180, and I went to cooking school.
Oh, no kidding.
Philadelphia. I moved back in with my parents at age 27.
The best place to live is with your parents, and the best place to cook food is in the basement of your parents' house. And I'm never leaving. I'm staying here the rest of my life. This is where I'm gonna die in the basement. I'm gonna die of eating way too much food. It's funny how we all seem to have that same upbringing, no matter where we are. Whether it's Philadelphia, Jersey, Boston, Chicago, our Italian roots are so embedded in us, and then the children, and then the grandchildren, and thank God it actually keeps going, because Italian family is all about food, tradition, family, yelling and screaming, and drinking some good wine.
Yes, and eating a lot of pasta.
Do you know exactly why so many Italians pretty much live on pasta?
Because it's so darn good.
All right, that's her answer. It's so darn good. It's actually inexpensive. So many Italian people grew up poor, and what is one of the simplest things to make? Pasta. Because it's inexpensive to make. It's actually inexpensive to buy. You really only have to boil it, and then you put on what you want on top.
It's like a palette. Yeah, it's a palette. I mean, it's a blank palette. You can do so much with it.
Right.
We'll talk about some of that tonight.
Absolutely, because my entire house smells like garlic.
There's a lot of garlic here
right now.
There's
a lot of garlic in this house. You know what's not in this house? Bats and Dracula.
No.
Because there's garlic everywhere. Imagine an Italian Dracula. Hey, I want to suck your pasta. Hey, watch yourself. Watch yourself. That was fun.
That was fun.
All right, but nobody's here to laugh. So, all right, you go to school, you go to college, you want to be that CPA, you're doing math, you started to get a little bit bored and said, you know what, I want to cook.
Yes. But I didn't want to work in restaurants. Like, actually, the idea of working the line gave me agita, thinking about, like, oh my God, I could never do that stress. But I thought...
We got to rewind. Every time we say something Italian slang, we got to explain it. For the people who are watching in different parts of the world, agita, I always thought was an Italian word for stomach ache.
I think it is, literally. But doesn't it, like, colloquially mean, like, anxiety? Like,
yeah.
Makes you nervous, like, makes you nervous?
Because your mother would say, stop it, you're giving me agita.
Yeah.
Or you could say, I can't eat anymore. I got agita. I wanted to kiss you goodnight, but I can't. I got agita.
It's a multi-use word. It's
Yes.
a good one. It's a good one, yeah.
One of the biggest biggest cures for agita is ginger ale. If you have agita, drink some ginger ale.
Or flat Coke.
Flat Coke.
Flat Coke.
If you have flat Coke. There's only one way to get flat Coke in my house. My father always left the top open, and it would go
that's
flat.
so funny.
And he did it on purpose, because he liked flat Coca-Cola.
Don't you think Italians are obsessed with digestion?
Well, this is a subject matter I didn't think we were going to go to, but yes, and I'll tell you why. Because what's in pasta?
Wheat.
Glutens. And glutens could really bind you up. And a lot of Italian people end up getting diverticulitis. I'm the one who had it really, really badly, and I went in the news. I had to have 8 inches of my colon removed. But once they fixed me, I went right back to eating pasta. Now I can eat a shoe, and it'll go right through.
Nice.
Yes.
Okay.
But yeah, that's... I never even called it pasta till I moved to California. I said macaroni.
Well, we grew up calling it macaroni and gravy. And on Sundays, my mom would say, do you want long or short macaroni? Made sense. Long, spaghetti, linguine, short, you know, what kind of short? What kind of short macaroni? Rigatoni, shells,
Mini.
bow tie. Yeah.
All right, see, I love this because she pretty much started a war. She doesn't know that this is happening. She said gravy, she said macaroni.
I did.
Right? So right now there's a lot of people out there going, what the hell?
The comments.
You know, there's going to be a ton of people. There goes money. Send us money. That's money.
Oh, that's good.
I don't know who sent us money, but we would take as much money as you want. Once that bell rings, you know cash was just sent. Cash was sent. Yeah, macaronis, plural, we always said. When are you going to have your macaronis? Because there's more than one in the plate. Spaghetti, and we never said pasta, and we always said gravy.
And me too. Us too. Same.
Did your family say gravy because your mother would say, because there's meat in there, and it makes a
That's
meat?
the thing. So I know everyone says, well, it's okay to say gravy if there's meat in there. But the truth is, we said gravy even when there was no meat. Even when it was just like a slow-cooked tomato-only sauce, it was gravy.
Well, when we had the slow-cooked sauce, like you just said, my mother said Marina.
Yes. We didn't, yes.
She did say gravy. I'm not going to make gravy tonight. I'm going to make Marina.
Yeah. But the truth is, being in the industry, so I ended up going to cooking school and working in the industry for a long time. I ended up saying sauce over the years, just because I'm not going to say gravy when
I get it,
working in food
because
service.
you need to be
It's just-
generic
yes.
for the mitigans.
Right. But now coming back to New Jersey, I just moved back to New Jersey. I was telling you, like, last May, so almost a year after over 20 years of not living here. I'm saying gravy a lot more.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
You coming
It's
back?
coming back.
Coming back.
It's coming back.
After tonight's show, she's going to say gravy. She's going to get a TV deal, her own cooking show, and I'm going to be the guy sweeping and cleaning up out in the parking lot.
We need someone like you.
Yes. We have so much food on this table.
Ridiculous amount.
My Facebook page, you guys can't see it yet, but I'm going to show you everything. Everybody on Instagram, you can see all of this, and we both have these great outfits on. This says Manja with Michelle. Michelle, how do you say it? Pietro.
Pietro.
And we got a long night ahead of us, and we are not going to waste any more time because there's so much food that I'm really hungry. It's one thing about being Italian, we're hungry all the time. I'm hungry when I'm eating. Right?
Well, I mean, yes, but then you're always thinking about what you're going to eat next.
Yes, that's
Always.
the way we grew up.
That's the way it is.
While you're having your breakfast, let me know what you want for dinner.
And And what are we going to have tomorrow morning?
All right.
Yes.
Michelle was gracious enough to come over my house and bring all kinds of utensils and knives and forks and dishes.
A lot of bags.
And a lot of bags. I mean, there's got to be 6,
More.
like she's moving in,
Yes.
all for this show. I feel like we're having Thanksgiving dinner. All right, so where did you go to school for the cooking?
I went to the restaurant school in West Philly. It's now called something else.
It's called the restaurant
The
school?
restaurant school at Walnut Hill College, but it's near University of Penn. That's where I went. And I got a degree in the culinary arts, not pastry. So pastry and baking, not so much my thing.
Yeah, I don't think I would be into pastries. I don't know if I would be into the cakes and pies. I am afterwards.
Right.
But as long as somebody else does it and they bring it.
Well, I always say, like, the people that go into pastry and the people that go into the culinary arts, they're different. Because pastry, you have to follow a recipe. It's much more scientific. Culinary arts, it's more just like a little bit of that, a little bit, a little bit of this, and you have a lot more freedom. Like, if I actually have to follow a recipe, it kind of, I don't know, gives me agita.
Yeah, good callback. Good for you. One of the coolest things is I know exactly what she's talking about. My mother used to say all the time, you make it like this. And she remembered how to do it. You don't have to write it down. Money! Send us that cash, you bitches. Thank you very much. All right, well, why don't we go ahead and ask Michelle what she brought that would decorate this table to have dinner with me tonight, and why did you pick it?
Well, why don't we start off with what's over at the stove?
We're going over to the
We're gonna go
stove.
to the stove. So,
I feel like Julia Child's kid. Hey, how you doing?
yeah. So what we have here is, it's a pasta shape. It's kind of like a rigatoni, but not exactly. And it's pasta with broccoli. And I brought this because this dish is my mom, like, through and through. Like, this was she made this for us all the time. It's an amazing dish. Everybody loves it. It's actually vegetarian, but it's very hearty. The key to it is actually overcooking the broccoli so that it becomes more like, it coats the pasta as opposed to like big pieces of broccoli that are just kind of scattered throughout the pasta.
Can I hold up the pan? Is that hot?
Yeah.
Is it hot?
No, a little bit. So right there, Mike, you have a lot of garlic, you have olive oil, you have smashed broccoli, which is, like I said, overcooked, and lemon zest, which is something my mom didn't do.
Look at that, folks.
That's
How
the,
gorgeous is it? You
that's
don't got to
the
do nothing.
sauce. That's
Isn't
the
that nice?
mixture.
No, we got it.
And then basically what we're going to do is we're going to mix
When
this.
I was a kid, my mother would always say, we're going to have broccoli gavadil. Gavadils was my favorite. And what she did was she did this to the broccoli, which it almost looks kind of mushy, almost like a spinach. Isn't that gorgeous? And then you're going to...
And then I'm going to just toss it with pasta that I have already cooked over here. A little bit of pasta water, which we always call like liquid gold, because it basically adds some moisture to the sauce and it adds a little bit more moisture to the pasta.
So she's adding the pasta to the plate of broccoli.
And some olive oil, because you always need a little bit more olive oil, even though there's already actually a lot of olive oil in the dish.
Nothing like good olive oil, huh?
Yeah.
I like olive oil. I put it on my cheeks and then I go tan.
And then a healthy dollop of pecorino romano, which really is, I think, one of the best cheeses out there. It's sharp.
Michelle in the corner.
I know.
In the
it's-
basement where my mother used to cook our entire lives.
Pecorino is great because it's sharp. It's sharp. It's salty, so it adds a lot. It really like rounds out and makes anything that it goes in a lot more savory. So this is basically pasta with broccoli. And I'm going to
Show
plate it up
everybody
right here.
before you plate it
before
up
I
how you
plate it.
started. She threw a ton of cheese in there.
Ton of cheese.
Which is unbelievable. And nice big fat macaronis. What are these macaronis?
They're actually called sedani, but they're similar to like a big ziti rigati.
A sedane. I never heard the term. But it's a nice big chunky macaroni as far as I'm concerned.
That's a macaroni
All right.
for sure.
And she's putting it in this nice, fat, wide, deep bowl.
Yeah.
And I'm going to break some rules with this fork.
You're going to go in?
I'm going in.
There you go.
Aspetta, which means
But
wait
you know
a
what?
minute.
You know what? Wait.
We're not in a hurry.
A
Remember,
little bit more.
she just fingered her cheese. Come on, people. That was hilarious. All right, there's no hurry. Look at this plate of food.
beautiful.
Isn't that nice? Now,
It's
here's
really good on day 2 also.
on day 2 and day 3, especially if you're a single guy like myself, because I could put this in the refrigerator and I could have it for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. That's the way we do it. This is something that would set my mother on fire when we were little kids. You take your fork and you stick it in the macaroni hole and you go like that. This would make my mother angry because this is not the proper way to eat. However, it's fun. So I would actually make her even more mad, and I would do 2. Boom, like a sled.
There you go.
So here we go. I'm going to taste some
Broccoli.
pasta and broccoli a la Manja with Michelle. Ready?
Yeah.
Hold on a minute. I don't want to curse too much on tonight's show, but that's fucking good.
I'm so
This
glad
is
you
so
like it.
damn good.
Now, before you take another bite, can I add a little something to it?
Sure.
So I asked you earlier if you like spicy foods. You said you did. So what I have here is something else I brought. This is called olio santo. We just called it, which literally means holy oil, but we just called it spicy pepper oil growing up. This was always on the table, you know, at dinner time. We always had some of this, and it was always, you know, especially great on pasta, pizza, really anything you want. And I make this myself, and I usually will give jars of this to friends and family as gifts.
What is it called?
Olio santo, which means
Olio Santo,
holy oil,
which means holy oil.
or you can just call it spicy pepper oil.
Is this going to set me on fire? This looks really hot.
No.
Here I go with the Santo Alio Ayo Ayo Ayo.
Not too bad, right?
Hey, that's hot.
Actually, that was a new batch, so I
That's
haven't
hot.
actually tasted that.
Holy mackerel.
It really depends on how hot the batch of peppers are.
That's really hot. It's delicious. I'm not going to stop, but it's hot. I'm on fire. Money!
Ooh.
Somebody wants the recipe.
Recipes will eventually, for everything here in the next month, they're all going to be on my website.
Okay, let's put this down and move on
Yes.
to another something something
There's
that
a
has
lot.
been made with love by Michelle.
Right, so let's see. Why don't we go to meatballs next? We'll break it up because between pasta and meatballs and whatnot. So, right here, we have meatballs and gravy.
She said gravy.
Gravy. These are all beef meatballs, and there's actually something, you know what? There's something special about these meatballs, but I'm not going to tell you until after you've tried them. You have a plate? Or do you want to just go right in with your fork?
I'm going to go into the meatball plate.
Okay. And it's the homemade tomato basil sauce.
So that's everything from the stove. So
That's
maybe we'll
everything from
sit
the
down
stove,
and
yeah, we can sit
we'll
down.
go after this. Are these baked meatballs?
These are pan fried.
Pan fried,
Yeah.
and then
Olive oil. And then finished in the tomato sauce. Tomato basil sauce or the gravy.
smells like Sunday morning in my home, and everybody's getting ready to go to church or Easter Mass or Palm Sunday Mass and come home, and you know that this is going to be waiting at the kids' table. We're actually at the kids' table in the corner by the stove. So here we go.
It's always good to have a meatball right after they're fried, I think. Before they even go in the sauce.
Oh, it's insane good. I love meatballs probably more than any food in my life. Oh, no, I can't say that because we're looking at a bunch of other foods that are on the table, so I'm going to get bested. We're going to sit down. We're going to go and eat some stuff like this. But here's a question and a trivia for Michelle.
Okay.
If we're having pasta and broccoli, what would be the wine? White? Red?
I actually think if we're only having pasta with broccoli, I would probably go for like a Pinot Grigio. But I think an Italian red will always go with any Italian food.
Right. I like a good red wine. Right now, I'm going to be tasting so many different things. I'm just going to use some water to clean my palate.
Yeah.
And then when you guys are done watching the show, we're going to pig because there are some friends here who helped Michelle bring all the stuff down the basement, and they're probably salivating right now at the looks of everything that's on this table. So let's grab a seat
Yep.
and see what we got. I'm also the cameraman tonight. Ooh, there you go. Look at that.
So, do you want to know what's special about the meatballs?
Hold on a minute, make sure I got to get a nice little angle here. Folks, keep on sending us money and we'll keep on eating. Isn't it funny that we're actually sitting at a table and behind us is a dryer and a washing machine?
Yes.
I would like Michelle to say exactly what it is that I'm going to pick up and put on the table before she tells us what kind of food is on this table. This is older than old. This belonged to my grandmother.
That's nice.
What is it?
It's a rolling pin for pasta.
No. This is the way you discipline your kids back in the 40s and the 50s. You said, go upstairs, wake your father, tell him your mother's downstairs slaving over the hot stove. And if he don't get down here in the next 15 minutes, I'm going to crack him in the skull. Then she rolled it out the door.
Maybe you were a bad kid.
I was never a bad kid. You weren't a bad kid in this house, boy. Because my mother would threaten you with no food. Could you imagine that? All right, so we know that that's a rolling pin. But here's one more thing. Well, two more things. I put this in my act every once in a while. I talk about it. What is it?
It's a colander.
Colander. I say colander. How do you say it?
Colander.
Colander. But for regular people who are not Italian, this is a pasta strainer. And you put your pasta in there, and the water runs out, you shake it, and you pour your pasta where you need to pour it. When I was a kid, my mother put the pasta in something like this, and she would shake it. She'd run water over it. Do I remember seeing that?
My mom did that sometimes too, but that's actually not good culinary technique.
Why would they do that?
I think they just thought it was better to cool it down and easier to integrate with the sauce. But the truth is, you're washing off some of that starch, and you want that starch to marry with the sauce, so the whole thing becomes like a thick dish together that the sauce will stick better to the pasta if it's not rinsed.
See, so it actually was a legitimate question with an answer for you people to get educated. I actually do rinse the pasta. I guess I got to stop doing that. I always thought you rinse the pasta, you pour it into another bowl, and then you put your gravy or sauce
Yes.
over the top of it.
Actually, the best thing to do is to have your gravy in a different pan next to your pot of pasta, hot. Take the pasta directly from the water, put it into the pan, and let it finish cooking. Take it out before it's al dente, before it's done. Put it in your sauce, and then mix it together and let it finish cooking with the sauce. So the sauce and the pasta, they become one.
Interesting. And I like the way
Getting
she
married.
called it al dente, because that's a great word.
Yes.
I like my macaroni a little on the mushier side. I think al dente can give me a little bit of a stomach ache sometimes. Al dente, what does that exactly mean?
Means
Harder?
to the tooth, literally.
To the tooth?
To the tooth, but it represents the texture that you should cook pasta to.
What's to the tooth mean?
To the tooth means that it has a bite,
Oh,
so it's not mushy.
al dente.
Al dente.
To the tooth. To the tooth
So
fairy.
you want to take the pasta out of the water before it's al dente, put it into the pot with the sauce, let them finish cooking together, and then you put it into your bowl. Or you bring the pot to the table.
Right. Excellent. I'm glad we learned that. I have one more instrument on this table that I would like to ask your advice on.
Yes.
I never use it. I'm ashamed that I don't use it. I should use it. I just never learned. And then all of a sudden nowadays you could do this type of a thing through modern appliances that you can get at Bed Bath & Beyond, like a Keurig. Could you hand me that?
Yes.
Now, this is probably one of the
great.
oldest things in this house. I think it came along with that colander. But my mother called this a maginette, and this belonged to my grandmother. Now, this, of course, is a way of making espresso. And it's got a lot of parts in it, and I really don't even know how to do it. I know how to use a new Maginet from today, but this one, do you?
I actually have never used this.
This is so confusing. It looks like the Tin Man.
I know you have to turn it upside down
It's so confusing.
at
Look,
some point.
it's got all kinds of whacked out devices and look at this.
It's a stovetop percolator of some sort.
We'll probably have to Google this, but I hope you people are enjoying that actually we're presenting you with some things that are from back in the day, back in the old school. Look at where we are. We're actually sitting in the basement where my mother and my grandmother cooked for the kids a long time ago. And this really is the kids' table. It hasn't changed. Nothing's changed down here except the pains in my back. But that's a Maginet.
I'll put it away.
Right now, everything that's on this table looks so delicious, I don't know where to start. I'm a big fan of chicken cutlets. I would say chicken cutlets is probably, no, I can't say that. I have so many favorite foods.
Yes.
But chicken cutlets. When I was a kid, my
chicken
mother would
cutlets are
say,
life.
if you're in a bad mood, I can make you happy. I'll make you some chicken cutlets.
And she was right.
Yes. So if you don't mind, excuse my elbow.
You're going to go in?
I'm going to grab it. I'm going to show everybody
Yes.
what's on this table. Now, this was beautifully made by Michelle. And let me show you. Oh, look at that shot. Chicken cutlets, ladies and gentlemen. Holy shit, are you looking at that? Look at everybody writing now. That's right, chicken cutlets here in the basement with Manja with Michelle. She made this, brought it over my house. Tell us what's in this plate.
So what we have here are chicken cutlets that is with the homemade seasoned breadcrumb. So what I did, it's nothing really different, but there's pecorino romano and parmigiano reggiano in the breadcrumbs, garlic powder, onion powder, dried oregano, dried basil, breadcrumbs.
Slow down, talk even louder because they're writing it down. We're not in a hurry. We're not going to no commercial breaks. We got a whole hour. Pecco Romano is a Parmesan cheese, but there's many different cheeses within the Parmesan family. Am I wrong?
No, you're
How
right.
does that go?
Right, so Pecorino Romano is a sheep's milk cheese, which is sharp and salty. Parmigiano Reggiano, or just Parmigiano in general, is a cow's milk cheese, which is also salty, but more like earthy and savory. So they kind of balance each other out.
See, I kind of knew that, but I didn't know that at 100%. There's a lot of different type of cheeses. You got to get the right cheese because if you go to a supermarket like a Stop and Shop or a ShopRite and you come home with a little green jar that says Kraft cheese, you're going to get thrown out of this house.
Right.
This is the real deal.
And you probably used Pecorino growing up a lot.
Yes.
And we did too, because you're a Bruzzese.
Yes.
I'm half a Bruzzese, half Sicilian. A lot of sheep, they primarily use Pecorino Romano, in that part of the country.
Mountain goats.
Parmigiano Reggiano is from the north. It's one of the king of all cheeses. It's wonderful, but we didn't really grow up with it, but I do love to use it a lot now. Having said that, there's Pecorino Romano and Parmigiano Reggiano in these breadcrumbs, along with breadcrumbs, along with dried basil, dried oregano, onion powder, garlic powder, black pepper. No salt though, because when you put the salt in the breadcrumbs, all the salt just goes down to the bottom
Put this in
anyway.
eggs? Eggs in it?
Eggs and then breadcrumbs, and then I fried it.
Fried.
Yes.
And they're perfect. They're all shaped just so perfectly.
Hey, why,
Now,
thank
before
you.
I bite into this chicken cutlet, what is this green leafy stuff on the right portion of this plate?
This is broccoli rabe.
Broccoli rabe. Do you know how to say it in Italian?
Well, it's called rapini. It's called broccoli di rabe. It's
The American word for broccoli rabe is broccoli rabe. My mother always said, "Broccoli rabe," which scared the living shit out of you. But that was her way of saying broccoli rabe. Broccoli rabe.
I feel like chicken cutlets and broccoli rabe are like tomato and basil. They just go together.
I actually was never a big fan of arugula laba. It's too, I don't know, there's something about it. It just, but anyway, I'm gonna
It's
try
bitter.
it.
It's a bitter green.
It's bitter.
There's a lot of garlic in here, crushed red pepper, olive oil, of course.
Look at how nice. All right? I'm having it by itself. Well, I like it. That's really good. This is a little bit more spinachy to me.
Interesting.
Maybe the garlic.
Perhaps.
One of the things my mother couldn't stand when we were younger is we would put ketchup on our chicken cutlets.
Yeah. I don't know about that.
See, she get mad? Because that's not what you do to a chef. You will make the chef very angry. But sometimes you can have these hot, and we would dip them in ketchup or barbecue sauce. And sometimes you can have these cold in a sandwich. You can have your broccoli rabe on the top of it. You put it in your sandwich.
Definitely. And on that note, I have a t-shirt here that I wanted to give you. It says chicken cutlets, broccoli rabe, panna di casa, which is your bread, no recipe required.
I didn't even see the shirt.
So that is
And
for
I
you.
said it.
And that's what we have here. We've got chicken cutlets, broccoli rabe, panna di casa, put them together, no recipe required. And this is part of the line of designs that I have recently launched on my website.
Well, we'll have to talk about this in a little while, too, because we're going to have some really cool gifts and giveaways.
Yes.
We're also going to take in some questions for Michelle. But chicken cutlet, broccoli rabe, you open up your bread like that. You would put one in it. I guess I could
If you want,
make
you
it
can.
look
I
like,
mean,
because I don't want to bite it. I want to have the chicken cutlet by itself.
Yeah, that's up to
And
you.
I don't want to waste nothing.
We also have olive oil, balsamic. Some people like to put that on their sandwiches.
All right, so let's make one so everybody can
All
see.
right.
When I was younger, and still to this day, I would take out the center of the
Yeah.
bread because this is too much bread for me.
I agree.
And my mother would say mudig.
Oh, okay.
What'd you call this?
We didn't have a name for it.
No. Well, if you remove it, it makes a pocket.
Yes.
And that's where you put your broccoli rabe.
Exactly.
So I'm going to do it. And if you would maybe put a little olive oil on the
Yeah.
one side of that bread.
And I got to tell you a funny story about broccoli rabe and chicken cutlets while we're doing this. So I went to college in Washington, D.C., and, you know, my Italian-American parents would send me care packages, of course, every now and again. You want a little balsamic or no?
Yes.
Yeah?
Oh, look at that. Is that brand new?
No, but it's
What is that?
aged balsamic vinegar from
Aged
Modena.
balsamic vinegar. It's the best.
I actually don't like balsamic that much, but I know that you do. That's
I
why
do.
I bought it. And you mentioned it on one of your walks recently.
Yes.
See, I listen. Anyway,
We're
so
building a sandwich.
do you want me to go ahead and do it?
Yeah.
Yeah, all right. So my parents would send me these care packages, and you know, where my roommates and my other friends would be getting care packages with like potato chips and candy and like a lot of stuff like that. Well, mine had, let's get this, got to get 2 pieces in there. And then if we had some good Jersey tomatoes, I'd put that in there, but we don't have any right now.
Wow.
Anyway, my parents would send me containers, this was overnight UPS, of broccoli rabe and chicken cutlets. Now, why would you send it overnight? How would they keep it cold? My dad would freeze a half gallon of orange juice. And he would sit that in the box, and that would keep everything else cold. It was basically like, and then I would be able to drink the orange juice. So they would send me broccoli rabe and chicken cutlets, and everybody on the floor would eat them. Everybody was so excited when I got care packages. I actually forgot about that story until I was getting ready for your show.
You see how our families are basically the same. When I first went to California, my mother would freeze gravy
Yeah.
with sausage, meatballs,
Ribs, probably.
braciole, everything in there. She froze it. Then she would take boxes of macaroni, like as if I couldn't buy it somewhere. She put it in the box and got it to me overnight with the same thing. They found a way to put ice in it. By the time it got to you, it was ready to
That's amazing.
eat.
So you had the same experience.
Yes.
That's funny.
This is unbelievable. This is one hell of a
looks-
delicious sandwich.
That looks like a great sandwich.
Right now, the amount of garlic that's coming out of my pores is insane. You want to bite the sandwich?
Your heart's going to be really healthy.
You want a sandwich?
No, I'm good.
All right, so we're going to move around, but
We're going to move around.
I got to bite this one more time.
Yeah.
I started a diet today.
Extra garlic diet.
It ain't gonna happen. But I tell you what, when I was a kid, my mother would wrap this in tin foil and put it in your lunch pail, and you got this at school, and it would reek. People would be like, "What the hell is that kid eating?" I'm like, "Well, it ain't no bologna sandwich, right?"
Right. That's funny. How's the bread?
Great piece of bread. It is. Where'd you get it?
I got it at a produce store near where I live. They have great produce, but they actually have really good bread, which is random. I think it's actually Portuguese bread, believe it or not.
Moving on.
Moving on, but before we move on, I have another something to give you. I brought you some palms from Palm Sunday Mass. You were talking about Palm Sunday on your walk on Sunday
Palm Sunday,
and your traditions.
the Sunday before Easter, when everybody went to church and said, "The pastor is being stingy with the palms. I don't even have enough to make a cross or a keychain." Look at that. Thank you so much.
So I think we should go over to the
I really
veggie-
never knew how to make one.
another veggie next. I think we need a sip of water.
I have to clean my palate.
So what we have here, these are Italian green beans in tomato sauce. Now, we call them Italian green beans. They're basically big, flat green beans. And actually, I was surprised to find them at the produce market, so I bought them. I'm like, oh, this would be a great thing to bring on the show. They're also known as Romano beans or pole beans, but we call them Italian green beans. And this is one of the ways we ate them growing up, was basically in tomato sauce with a lot of garlic and basil. Another way was without the sauce, but with potatoes. And that was also very common.
I'm not a big string bean guy. And I don't think I've ever seen what's in this plate before up close.
So,
But I'm going in.
yeah, and I actually don't love green beans myself either, but like the broccoli in there, and also kind of like this broccoli, I tend to overcook my vegetables because that's the way I like them. I think it's more of an Italian American thing. My mom did it, my grandmom did it, my aunts did it. So these tend to be softer, not so chewy.
Is this vase in a goal?
Yes.
This is the vase in a goal. I don't even know what it is. It just smells like life. Ah, the vase in a goal.
Also known as basil. But it is funny. We called it that too growing
Vase
up.
in a goal.
I don't know. It's such a long
I
word.
don't even know what it means.
The thing is, the word in Italian for basil is basilico. It's dialect, clearly.
Yeah. All right. Well,
What do you think?
it's definitely different. It's fun. It's got a great kick to it. It's stuck in my tooth. If I was to have string beans, I'd have them like this. This is badass.
No, this is definitely this has my Sicilian influences. I'm half Sicilian, half Abruzzese. This is definitely more of the Sicilian side.
Is all of these things in your cookbook?
No.
No. All right. Well, we're gonna get to
One
it.
dish is in my cookbook.
We're gonna get to it.
Yeah.
Take me along.
Take me along. So, actually, we'll do one more pasta, and then we're going to move on to soup and garlic bread. So, what we have here, and this was sort of a last-minute addition to the menu tonight. This is...
I don't hear any money coming through. I should be rich the way this show looks right now.
So,
I'm letting you guys in my house.
this is actually macaroni, pasta shells, with a raw tomato sauce. So, the great thing about this dish is that I made it with the small pear tomatoes. You can also do it with the cherry tomatoes, which are basically sweet all year round. You know, whereas Jersey tomatoes, you really only have that one season where they're really good, and then all the rest of the year tomatoes are like that. These tomatoes you can use all year round and make this raw tomato sauce all year round. Of course, you can make it with Jersey tomatoes in the
What's
summer.
Jersey tomato season? Summer?
It's late summer.
Late summer?
Yeah. So what we have here it's a raw sauce. So I took the cherry tomatoes, I quartered them, put them in a bowl. I threw some salt on them, and just those two ingredients themselves, like the salt will end up drawing the liquid out of the tomatoes and kind of creating a sauce. I also threw in some black oil cured olives, and then and some black pepper, and that was the sauce. I let it sit for hours, and then I mixed it with hot pasta, ricotta cheese, and fresh basil. And pecorino romano, of course, because pecorino is everywhere. It's a really good dish. It ends up becoming like more of a room temperature pasta as opposed to a hot dish, because you're mixing hot pasta with the room temperature
I'm so
sauce.
happy right now. Look, we got to get a good picture. Get a good picture.
Get a good picture.
Excellent. All right.
I think I'm going to have some of this with you. So this is actually a recipe that I learned in Tuscany when I was there on vacation, on a cooking vacation, before I went to cooking school, when I was still working in public accounting. Thank you. I was living in Switzerland and working for a public accounting firm in Switzerland for 2 years.
Wait a minute. We got to eat together. I see one.
It's
I
so
see
good.
a little tomato. What is this? An olive? Money!
You got a little bit of everything on your fork.
Oh, that's crazy good.
It's crazy good. Capers would work as well.
The tomato, the little tomato,
Little
just got such a hot zing and a zam,
And
boy.
this couldn't be, anybody can make this sauce. Anybody can make it. There's really, the only cooking required is cooking the pasta.
Holy shit.
This is like really special.
Yeah. I couldn't say what on this table is my favorite. It's just not going to happen. Everything's my favorite. I mean, that was really good.
One more.
Yeah. Shit. Wow.
And the ricotta also becomes part of the sauce. And as you can see, it's sort of just, almost can't tell there's ricotta
What
here.
is this?
How did you call it? Vaznagol?
Vaznagol? That's the
Vaznagol.
Vaznagol?
Vaznagol.
It tastes good.
Yeah, it's good. And then the black peppers the black olives add salt and like brininess. You know, the pecorino adds that sharpness. The ricotta adds creaminess. Obviously, tomatoes add acid. So it's very well-rounded flavor.
All the flavors on this table
Yeah.
are great. We're going to give you guys an opportunity to win a wooden spoon and one of Michelle's cookbooks. Why don't we tell everybody who's watching right now how to do that? Go ahead.
Yes. Well, actually, we have to talk about the cookbook a little bit first. So this is my cookbook. It's called Soupified, Soups Inspired by Your Favorite Dishes. And it's filled with recipes that were based on, they're soup recipes that were based on non-soup dishes. For example, garlic bread soup, which is what we're going to have in a few minutes. Eggplant Parmesan soup, chicken cordon bleu soup, chicken Marsala soup, which is actually one of my favorite recipes in the book. But it's not exclusively an Italian book. I mean, my Italian-American roots absolutely come through. But you also have Chinese egg roll soup. You have Reuben soup. You have 4 chilled soups, caprese, prosciutto, and melon. Greek salad soup, which you won't even believe. You take a spoonful of that Greek salad soup and you swear you're eating a Greek salad. But it's just a spoonful.
Can I?
Yes. And that's bacon cheeseburger soup on the cover.
A bacon cheeseburger soup. You're not feeling good. It's cold. It's February. You're in New Jersey. You want a nice bowl of soup. What do? You open up this book and you learn how to make yourself some incredible soups that will be taught to you by this legendary chef who came all the way down to my mother's basement to sit with us tonight and bring us this beautiful stuff by Michelle de Pietro. Wow, this is great. Powered by Mary Giuliani?
Forward by Mary Giuliani.
Oh, forward. Sorry, I didn't have I said powered. I don't have my reading glasses on. I'm having too much fun eating all this food. This is really, really fantastic. What made you come up with, let me make everything in a soup?
So, I have most of my career has been in developing recipes and developing menus. So innovation and trying to look at things in a different way has always been part of my job. So I always have these bubbles of ideas out there. And it was March of 2020, April of 2020. And I was in my Manhattan apartment with no outdoor space, and we couldn't really do anything. And I had worked on a couple of recipes that were soup versions of non-soup dishes. And then I was talking with a friend, and I'm like, hey, maybe I should do an ebook about this. And to me, an ebook was like a PDF of maybe a dozen recipes that I would put on my website eventually. Well, one thing led to another. I was brainstorming ideas. I came up with 100 ideas. So before I knew it, I was working on an actual cookbook. And so this was my lockdown project. I did the entire thing in 2020. I released it right after Thanksgiving in 2020. And it's a very, like you said, great in the winter. It's the recipes are comfort food.
Comfort foods.
They're meant to be the soups that are meant to be eaten as a meal. Like I tell people, they're not the chicken pastinas of the world. You don't have a cup of this and then you have dinner.
Pastina.
Chicken pastina. They're very hearty. It's a very whimsical, fun cookbook. You know, there's lasagna soup, and what's been so great is the reaction that I've gotten and the feedback from everyone who's been making the recipes. A lot of people have made them with their family, and a lot of people are actually working their way through the book and sending me pictures of the soups, you know, as they make them, which has been really fun.
The pictures of the soups are unbelievable. That is so cool. Look at that.
Actually,
31 innovative recipes that ditch the dish and embrace the bowl.
yeah.
Make your food into a soup. Can you tell everybody how to win the
Yes,
prizes?
so
that
we
we're-
are giving away, I am giving away three different people, a cookbook and a Manja with Michelle wooden spoon. And all you need to do is to be one of the first 3 people to email Mike Marino fans, right, at gmail.com with what dish would you like to see soupified? Soupified being the word to turn something into a soup.
All right, you heard it here on the show. The first 3 people who write to me, Mike Marino fans at gmail.com, and tell us what kind of soupify you'd like to create.
Yes.
Chicken cutlets, meatballs. What would you like to see made into a soup? First 3 people that write to us, you're going to get a cookbook and a free spoon. This is a cool ass spoon. I'd like to have one. Manja
That's
with
yours.
Michelle. Look at that.
That's yours.
This is not only just a soup spoon. This is how to straighten your kids out. Bada boom, right on the ass. They'll stop talking to you for a long time. All right, so this is really, really great. And where can people buy the book anyhow?
The book is available online everywhere. Amazon. You can also go to my website, and there's a link on my website to the book as well. My website, manjawithmichelle.com.
And for those of you who are wondering, how do you make a soup out of a dish? Well, there's one right in front of us.
Yes, and in fact, this is interesting because I brought you my garlic bread soup. And this is interesting because I also brought you the garlic bread recipe that this soup is based on.
All right.
So I think we need to pull both of them in front of us right now. Let's see. So the garlic bread, what's interesting about this soup, has garlic in 4 different forms. You have raw garlic.
I don't mind eating right out of the bowl.
Oh, how about you use the superfied bowl?
All right, we got a superfied bowl.
So there's raw garlic, there's garlic powder, there's garlic confit, which I actually brought here because I wanted everyone to learn about this fantastic ingredient. It's one of the best ingredients in my kitchen. It's basically garlic cloves that are slowly cooked in oil until they become soft and smashable with a fork. And then the oil, that becomes a garlic oil from all the flavor of the garlic.
Are you pieces of the garlic in the soup?
That's already in the soup.
Oh.
But what goes on here, those are the croutons.
I was going to say, you gotta talk about these.
know
This is
you've
the
been-
biggest croutons I've ever seen in my
been-
entire
I know
life.
those croutons
Look at the
since I
size of
got
these
here.
croutons.
So
You see
those
this?
are pecorino croutons and crumbs. So those are croutons that are actually fried in extra virgin olive oil.
Oh.
And then taken out of the pan, tossed with pecorino romano, parmigiano reggiano, black pepper, and parsley.
I like the way you just grab shit and throw it in. Boom.
Boom.
On your knees on a salad.
They actually are really good on Caesar salad. I've done that. And this is a creamy soup. You know, you've got some vinegar in the soup to kind of to round out the flavor. There's some sherry vinegar, there's some red wine vinegar, there's some white wine. There's also pecorino romano. Again, you see a theme. I have a lot of pecorino romano on this table, as well as a lot of garlic. And this does actually have a little bit of cream, not a ton. Oh, but the other thing about this
Should I have the soup and crouton in one shot?
Yes.
Yeah?
The other thing about this soup, there is
Looking.
bread in the soup that as the thickener. So I actually pureed bread into the soup. So what do you think?
I think it's going to be a long night. We're all going to be eating down here for hours. We will never let this food go to waste. This is absolutely delicious, folks. Get yourself the book. Learn how to make your dinner into a soup. This is delicious.
It is really
I
good.
can't
It's actually
stop.
one of my favorite recipes in the book.
This is my favorite recipe. All right, wait.
I know, it's pretty good.
What's next?
Well, let's see. I think
What?
we have the garlic bread. The garlic bread is next.
Everybody has to see this thing.
And I have to say, every time I have my friends
is
over
this?
for dinner, they want me to make this garlic bread for them. My friend Liz actually called it award-winning, although it actually hasn't won any awards. But yeah, this is better right here. So this is the garlic bread that this soup is based on.
This
Again,
is unbelievable.
garlic in multiple forms. You've got it. Basically, I take a butter.
I'm going to take one from the middle.
I make a garlic
Tell
butter.
us all about it.
Yeah, make a garlic butter. And in that garlic butter, I smash a bunch of this garlic confit that we were talking about earlier, which are basically garlic cloves, garlic oil, pecorino romano, parmigiano reggiano, garlic powder, black pepper, a little bit of crushed red pepper, fresh parsley, and a little bit of fresh basil.
What would happen if I just ate one of these? Can I?
Yeah, absolutely. Also really good, just right, spread right on bread. And then I slather this with that butter. I put some more cheese on top of it, and then I broil it.
What? Oh. Oh, that is sick delicious.
Yeah,
Holy mackerel.
pretty good. And if you want a little spicy, you can always put a little bit of this on there. Why not?
No,
No,
well,
too much.
I'm going to do that for camera, but that's hot. Go
That
ahead.
is hot.
Put it on me.
Just a
Bring it on me.
little drizzle. Oh, that looks good too.
Drizzle the edge.
Drizzle the edge. Oh, that's a lot.
We're almost done.
Definitely.
That's
gonna
why
warn
I'm
off
going
all
to
the
risk.
vampires.
I'm going to risk this now because we're almost done. I want to dip this in my soup.
Can, but it's that soup is actually the garlic bread in soup form.
It's really hot. That's really hot. I'm sweating.
Drink some water.
Holy mackerel.
Put it in the soup.
And we'll be right back after this commercial break. Well, that's really hot.
Like I said, I didn't actually taste this batch. Made it special for you.
Everything on this table is absolutely delicious.
Thank you.
And I am so happy that you drove all this way to bring us this food and to show everybody that they could do this at home. We really can't take any questions right now because you're too far away from me and I can't see. But why don't we all just make sure we follow Michelle and tell us where they can find you
Sure.
on the internet,
That would be great.
where they can contact you in case they would like this meal brought to their house. Do you do that?
Anything's possible.
No, would you really, do you cater? Do you go to somebody's house and say, hey, let me cook for you?
It's definitely an idea that I am thinking about now that I'm out in the suburbs. It would be a lot easier to
The
execute.
suburbs.
Anyway, mangiawithmichelle.com is my website. That's Michelle with one L, MANGIA with MICHELE. And everything is on there, but I would love it if you'd follow me on social media, which I'm Manja with Michelle on Instagram and Facebook.
How could you not follow Manja with Michelle when you know this could be at the end of your story to start the next day to begin your story? This is just so damn good.
And if you can sign up for my mailing list on my website, you'll be notified once these recipes are up there. That would be great. And I guess that's it. I am doing my first online cooking class soon.
Oh.
On April 12th. It's open to everybody. It's going to be, the topic is zucchini. I'm going to be making stuffed zucchini, showing everyone how to make stuffed zucchini and a zucchini pesto, bruschetta, and pasta, along with my friend Luciano Russo. And I believe you have his sauce here tonight. And we are doing this in conjunction with Phil Italia International, which is a Philly-based Italian and Italian-American organization. And I would say just email me if you're interested in that at michelle@mangiawithmichelle.com, or There's information about it on my Instagram and Facebook pages, but I would love it if you signed up. That's April 12th. Sign up by this Friday, April 7th.
So what's going on? It's something in Philly, like an Italian feast, festa, where he's going to be?
There is something
You're gonna
going
be?
on. Well, there's actually a couple things coming up. I'm not sure which one
The
he's
largest
talking about.
cannoli.
Oh yeah, the
like
largest
May 10.
cannoli. That's I think the first Wednesday in May. I'm just going to attend it, or I said I would help out if anyone needs help.
Right.
I don't know much about it, but I've had those cannolis in Philly, and they're very
Yes.
good.
Rim Cafe
Delicious.
in Philadelphia. It's right by where they sell those famous cheesesteaks. There's Gino's, and I guess the one across the street is Pat's.
Geno's and Pat's.
Gino's and Pat's.
And funny enough, not to interrupt you, but when you went to Philly, you said you didn't have a chance to eat a cheesesteak, right?
I didn't know.
And one of the recipes in my cookbook is
Oh,
a Philly,
no.
Philly cheesesteak soup. So I almost brought you the Philly cheesesteak soup tonight. But I didn't because we had so much other meat. And it's such a really, it's a gut buster. But next time, I will make you my Philly cheesesteak soup.
Folks, we got to get going. We've been having so much fun down here in the basement. I think I've eaten enough food for 3 different people. Once we're done, we're going to have a big late night dinner. I'm so happy that you drove this way, and thank you so much for bringing all these wonderful foods and educating everybody out there about how to make this food and, of course, soup, and to get your book. Don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, the first 3 people that write to me on my fan page, MikeMarinoFans@gmail.com, and tell us what food you would like in a soup. We'll write you right back. We'll get your address from you, and we'll send you the cookbook, and we'll send you the spoon.
Yes. And do that by Thursday morning at the latest.
Thursday.
I mean,
Do it by
do it
Thursday
right now.
morning.
Do it an hour after the show. But,
Yes, do it
but
right now.
Thursday at the latest.
And send us some more money. We got to get going. I want to thank everybody for watching the show tonight.
you.
And a nice, really big shout out to my producer, Tatiana Blue Shell, who's responsible for making all of these shows really, really great. And she takes care of everything and she makes it look really, really nice. And thank you so much for showing Michelle how to come here, bring all this food, and make us have some fun.
Thank you for inviting me on your show.
Oh,
It's a great time.
absolutely. Hey, folks, I'm going to be performing a lot in the next 3 months. All you have to do is go to MikeMarino.net or right here on Instagram or right here on Facebook and find out when I'm doing a live performance in your neighborhood. From here, I'm going to Fort Lauderdale and then on to Boca Raton. I will be at the Boca Black Box on April 15th. It's going to be a great, great show. From there, I'm going to Canada, and I'm doing 3 shows. One's going to be in Vancouver, one's in British Columbia, and one's somewhere in between. But if you go to MikeMarino.net, you'll see when I'm doing that. And then from there, I'm going out to Vegas. And from Vegas, I'm going to Dubai. I'm going to try to go on a diet, but after tonight, I don't think that's going to be possible.
Sorry.
That's all right. So remember, let's make America Italian again. My motto is, you don't know nothing, you don't see nothing, and you don't say nothing. And how do I end every single one of my broadcasts? By always saying the same thing with my guest.
I don't take no shit from nobody.
Yeah. Ready?
Yeah.
Don't take no shit from nobody. Good night, everybody. Thank you. Hey folks, I hope you're enjoying watching my podcast live from my mother's basement. We're having a lot of fun and I'm going to have a lot of great guests on the show in the future. So if you like it, hit like. You could also leave a comment. You could subscribe to my YouTube channel and watch other funny videos. And you could also listen to my podcast on your favorite podcast app like Spotify and iTunes.